weather looks really nice today. The temperature's dropping really fast though. And with that in mind, what's going on today? This was the expected release today of the DJI Mavic 3 Classic. So here was the official announcement, although I guess we pretty much knew everything about it. For the most part, it's essentially like the Mavic 3 series, except they stripped down things like the telephoto lens. Although I guess for myself, what was the most interesting thing about this was the price, because cutting down those features meant it should be cheaper. That should technically attract people who are holding off. So is it worth it, I guess, for the price? You can see on their site in terms of how much the Classic costs. It says here it's $1,449 US. That's basically for the standard controller. If you want the one with the built-in screen, apparently it's $1,599 US. So that's about a $150 difference if you want the controller with the built-in screen. Is it worth it? I think if you use it all the time, it's probably a good quality of life change without having to constantly take out this phone, attaching it to the controller and all that. So how does that compare with the original Mavic 3? You can see their original prices for the Mavic 3. It's $1,899 US. And of course, the Cine Premium combo is expensive, $4,649 US, which was way beyond the price range for most people. So in comparison, with and without the telephoto lens, you'd either pay $1,899 or $1,449, so about a $450 difference. Is that enough to get people to buy the Mavic 3 Classic? And for drones, I was reading this, how apparently in New York there's going to be a huge drone show. This one says, 500 drones to swarm NYC skyline Thursday in new advertising ploy. At least 500 drones will depart the shores of New Jersey on Thursday evening, flickering over the horizon in a choreographed dance meant to evoke the experience of swiping colorful treats on a phone screen. Promising a, quote, surreal takeover of New York City's skyline, the fleet will pulse with LED lights as it serves miles of lower Manhattan with an aerial advertisement for the mobile video game Candy Crush. But the display has some New Yorkers wondering when the city's skyline became another surface to be wallpapered in corporate branding. So that's kind of interesting, as a lot of places they actually don't have big drone shows and they would like to see it, but in this case, I guess people are saying, oh, more advertisement and so forth. And it kind of goes on in this article. You'd think too, a lot of people would normally say, hey, it's great to have things like drone light shows versus things like fireworks for pollution reasons, but this one here says, others see the drones as an unwanted form of visual pollution, an intrusion on the urban landscape that would seem to violate the city's strict ban on drone use. I think it's outrageous to be spoiling our city's skyline for private profit, said State Senator Brad Holliman, who represents the west side of Manhattan, after he was shown an invitation to the event. It's offensive to New Yorkers, to our local laws, to public safety, and to wildlife. You just can't win with this stuff, I guess. There will always be somebody who doesn't like it. Is there ever one thing where everyone will say, oh, I love this idea and so forth? Although there is a ton of advertisements now in terms of, I guess, stuff like this. People often said before, in terms of over-the-top regulations, it's people wanting to monetize the skies eventually, kick everyone else out, right? And the last thing I saw today related to that story on how in Korea there was that huge stampede of sort of, that's what you want to say, where there was crowds of people gathering. Some people couldn't breathe, and unfortunately, a lot of people, they actually had things like cardiac arrest. There were some videos actually being released, and this one in particular is kind of crazy. It shows like a police officer, I guess, trying to control the crowd, telling them to go, but there's just so much people, and everyone's kind of like mindless per se, and you can see kind of the person's sense of defeat in his tone of voice and all that. Like, there's nothing much he can do. There's just so much people. There's even people, like, they look like they're trying to go back in too. That's kind of crazy to see this, huh? You can kind of feel it too.
어딨어? 잡아 찾아! 자, 이쪽으로! 이쪽으로! 자,
I guess for a lot of people like here, you wonder why there's always so many police officers organizing crowds and so forth during huge events. Well, it's because of situations like this, right? You don't want this happening. Unfortunately, there's no way to turn back time.
About our giant bananas.
Sure.
It's for injury prevention. So, Canada mangoes. Would you like a banana? You're welcome.
He has a QR code or something. Alright, see you guys later.